all aspects of our lives, from going to work, telecommuting, healthcare, public safety, education, et cetera, have become virtual. And
Right.
this has really exposed the digital divide, and several communities are getting left behind. I'm wondering if this helped drive your decisions around getting this bill passed now, and provided some of the impetus to get this passed during the special session. And I suppose as a follow-up to that, do you anticipate that we're going to see more rural broadband related legislation during the upcoming special or no, session in 2021?
We've been working on this bill for 2 years. We had it geared up to pass in 2019, again in 2020, and we had tumultuous ends to the sessions in both cases. So if there is anything good about a pandemic, and there's not a lot, I think renewed understanding of the role of broadband in people's lives is one of those good takeaways. We've known all along, and we've been telling people there are tremendous gaps across the state. Data that's been put together by Business Oregon shows that 20% of urban residents and more than 40% of rural residents don't even have 10-1 broadband speeds. That's way below what the FCC has pegged as reasonable residential standards of 25.3. So we are far behind, and the pandemic has just shined a light on that. I haven't been in any conversation where somebody didn't bring up broadband, because we know that people who have lacked connectivity have missed health appointments, they've missed educational opportunities, they've missed the opportunity to work online. They haven't been able to gather important public health information. They haven't been able to attend religious services that were offered in virtual form, or to order groceries. All of a sudden, everything that we've done in a stay-at-home period has been pegged to the internet. And it's always been that way. It's been that way for a long time. We've doubled down during it in the pandemic. And I think that's why we were able to get our legislation passed in the special session that was really focused on the pandemic and police accountability, because all of a sudden people understood that broadband is a public health response. Again, I think this is the beginning. I think we will, we're not going to solve those kinds of gaps with $5 million a year. We are going to have to pull together and really support communities across the state. We also got, by the way, out of the federal money that's been given to the state to respond to the pandemic, we got $20 million dedicated toward broadband, which was a great contribution. Again, while $20 million is terrific, it's a drop in the bucket when you look at the hundreds of millions of dollars that we need to solve this problem. And yet, it will allow us, our provider network, to get a lot of Oregonians, a lot of institutions online by the end of the year. So that's a great step forward too. And an acknowledgement that this is a critical part of the work in front of us.
Mm-hmm. And are you specifically planning anything in the 2020 session yourself? Are you part of a coalition of folks in the legislature looking at additional efforts around connectivity in 2021?
Well, it's going to be a difficult year for the state because we are not going to have any money. We're looking at a $4 billion hole. So it's not going to be a year where we're going to be well positioned to invest in a whole lot. The expansion of the Universal Service Fund will go online in January, but we won't start to see money accumulate that we can actually use for probably a year after that. So while we needed to get that going, because there is a lead up time, it's not going to be immediately effective next year. I am interested in a conversation that starts to look at, on the long term, how we provide internet subsidies to families. We have taken that on in the utility sector. We have, through Energy Trust, a mechanism to provide ongoing utility support to families who can't afford to pay their utilities year round. I think we need to really start to do something like that for internet services. And that's obviously a long-term conversation, because we provide internet in a system that includes private providers, municipal providers, co-ops. We have a network of really wonderful entrepreneurial entities that have stepped up to build these systems in our communities. So it's a complex system, and providing subsidies within that complex system is something that we'd really need to think about. But I think it is time to have that conversation.
Hmm. Well, Representative Marsh, I wanted to thank you for your time. We appreciate you joining us. It's been a pleasure having you and talking about such a critical issue for Oregon. Let me say just to you and your family, stay safe,
Thank
be
you.
well, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to visit with you today.
Take care.
Bye.